I ended up in a circle of men in Silicon Valley who are now what we would refer to as the techno-fascists. You had a choice to either live long and prosper, which is what we were doing, or be fruitful and multiply.
Hey there, it's Marley Majcher. Before we dig in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell because you definitely don't want to miss another glorious disaster here on Every Day's a Train Wreck. Because missing an episode, now that would be a train wreck. Let's get to it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. I'm your host, Marley Majcher, and I am very excited. Hopefully, you're excited with my new pixelated top. I feel it's very appropriate for life in the digital age with the girl that's going to tell us all about it, Miss Becca Camp with Fearless Femmes. And I think I'm going to take you on a little bit of a wild ride today. No surprise. Becca, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for going on the little roller coaster ride I'm going to take you on. And tell the audience a little bit about you and
Oh man,
why
I'm
they should be
thrilled.
listening.
I'm thrilled, Marley, and truly it is Marley's world. We're all just living in it. I am here for this ride. I am all in. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go,
So
girl.
so I'm Becca Camp, as I was introduced. I'm the CEO and founder of Fearless Femmes, which is a mastermind that trains women to leverage their nervous system as a instrument of influence and power. So I do one-on-one coaching as well to kind of complement that. But we're really here to learn about the mechanics of our nervous system, leveraging my background in human anatomy and physiology, as well as my background, engaging with really fucked up power dynamics in Silicon Valley for the first chapter of my career. So really important timing, I feel like, for this.
I will only go so far with that. I love my science. Love, love, love data, numbers, etc. And what kind of blew me away about you is you are very smart. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but you're very smart and you have had you could be my granddaughter, right? Like you've had a really good career so far. And
Yeah.
it's like a serious career. I mean, not that I guess but I mean, it isn't like you've just been kind of trekking the Himalayas and then decided to like, oh, I'm going to now coach people on their nervous system, which I mean, I guess that would be fine too. But you actually have data and science and an entrepreneurship camp and all that stuff, virtual summit that we're going to talk about. But give us a little bit about your like background, because you're talking about physiology and you're talking about all those things. And to me, yours truly having been in like rehab so many times, not for alcohol, though probably that should come next, but for like my knees and my back and everything else. Let's dig deeper into that part of your background and how it affects your work now.
Oh my gosh, of course. So it's one of those things where nothing about my journey professionally made sense until I started my own business. And then it all fell into place with a perfectly linear narrative. It's kind of amazing. And when we follow our hearts and our dreams, I really do believe that that tends to be how it goes.
Yeah.
But for my background, I like to say that I got lost on my way to med school. I did
Well
all
put.
of the highest level, master's level biochemistry and human anatomy and physiology and all of that. Ended up getting my degree specifically at this intersection of anatomy and physiology and how human culture evolved.
Okay, now
So,
pause. Now
yeah.
pause, because while I do have a degree from a very fine university, it is not their fault that I am so challenged. So, what exactly does it mean to say? And because when you say anatomy and physiology, I'm sorry, I'm going to
Mhm.
raise my hand. I'm going to say that seems like the same thing to me. Like they seem
Yeah.
like synonyms. So, what does that mean?
No, it's a really great distinction to make. And it's not hugely important, but just for everyone's understanding to be on the same page. Anatomy is kind of like the parts, right? Like here is my hand and it's got tendons and fingernails and bones inside of it. That's the anatomy, right? We can like
Okay.
point to it and name it. The physiology is how it moves.
Hmm.
And so it's literally like the dynamics all the way down to the way that my neurons are firing from my brain to actually tell my hand what to do. So you can drill it down all the way to a biochemical level if you, like me, have a neurodivergent special interest in such a thing.
Okay. Well, now you're speaking my language because
Yep.
I just heard the big word neurodivergent maybe like a year ago, and that puts in ADHD and all those like people like me, right? Who can do all kinds of things, but like I told you this morning, can't seem to manage to replug in their like microphone box to their computer, their Apple computer, going in the right direction. It's amazing how when you just switch a cord, the direction of a cord, right? Should be some kind of metaphor for something. But in Go High Level, you have like funnels and workflows. And so
Mhm,
we were talking about this yesterday.
mhm.
And it's like, what's the difference between a funnel and a workflow? And they kind of were like, the workflow is like the nuts and bolts, like this email connects to this email, connects to this text message. It's like a series of triggers. So that sounds to me like kind of what you were talking about. And then the funnel is like the hand, like you look at it, it's more kind of the big picture. Do I have that right or no?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how you wanna interpret the metaphor. I mean, I guess one way to think about it is like anatomy is kinda like you say, maybe better it relates to the funnel
Okay.
where or sorry, to the CRM, where you're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, here's all the different people that we've got in our system,"
Ah, got
and,
it.
like
Okay.
and then the funnel's like how they move through the system.
Got it.
And I
Okay.
think probably the better description because there
Okay.
is sort of a funnel of, like, me having a thought and then my hand moving, and I actually kinda like I dig that analogy, so let's roll with it.
Okay, well, okay. So, well, I really dig it because now I know what the heck you're talking about. So,
Yep.
okay, so you have the thought in your brain, and then you
Mhm.
tell your hand, okay, I want you to do this, right?
Yeah,
And then in theory, your hand is going to do it. Now,
yeah.
in how did that then? How did you go from that? So, well, a how'd you go from hey, you're going to be a doctor to now you're doing entrepreneurial summits? Like walk us through that workflow, that journey.
Yeah, so I went through the whole process of the med school rigmarole all the
Wow.
way through interviews, and my number 1 choice for med school, which was Mayo Clinic, the most competitive school in the world, basically. They admit like 50 students or something. And I had done I was really, really committed to, like, their style of patient care because it was very human first. I won't that's a story
Okay.
for another day. But I didn't wanna just be another doctor that kinda, like, just didn't look at the patient as a whole
Right.
system,
Right.
right? And struggled within that system to give them good care. And so that was really gonna be my be all end all. And when I got waitlisted there, I sort of had this thought. I had been kind of learning about the tech industry. This is 2008 when like you could actually make real friends on Twitter because
Mhm.
there were
Yeah,
like enough. Yeah, it was small enough.
yeah.
And basically, I ended up partying my way into a role in Silicon Valley,
Okay,
starting
do
as
tell. Like the whole Silicon Valley, like cocaine direction or like sipping, like good Chardonnay or what do you mean partying?
Yeah. So I literally mean just going and making friends. And this has always been at least I identified as an extrovert at the time since I'm turning 40. That's shifted a bit. But
Yeah.
but uh but basically I went out there with this idea that if I just did my thing and made true authentic connections with people and like stayed curious about what they were about, things would just work out for me. Like the level of like sheer entitlement was mind-boggling. And sometimes I try to channel 22-year-old Becca again
Yeah.
where I'm damn, like, she just walked into Silicon Valley, like, just with no preconceptions about what was going on,
Now
no
let
hes
me but I like okay, but hang on a
yeah.
second. I want to put a pin in that for a minute because when you say entitlement to me, as soon as you describe that, I'm like that's manifesting, right? That's like fake it till you
Mhm.
make it. That's like all of us. I mean, mothers would never have children if, we looked at all the books of this is what's going to happen like during childbirth, right? I mean, you just wouldn't if you knew everything you were going to have to face. That goes for entrepreneurship, that goes for a lot of things. So to me, it's it's like that greenness that
Mhm.
you need, right? Because how many times have you heard an I mean, you interview entrepreneurs. How many times have you heard an entrepreneur say, "If I knew then what I know now," or like a business person or a mom or anything else? So, and by the way, where were you from when you went to Silicon Valley?
Oh, yeah, so I was from Fort Worth, Texas, so, like,
Okay, yeah,
very little connection.
okay. And what made you want to go? So you're waitlisted at the Mayo Clinic, which I
Mm.
find just truly mind-boggling. I mean, barely can spell Mayo Clinic, and you're waitlisted. So then you go to Silicon Valley, and you're like, but what made you say, "Hey, I want to be tech girl"?
Yeah. In 2008, there was a big dialogue happening around healthcare policy and in
Mhm,
particular, just a lot of healthcare legislation happening. It was the advent of Obamacare. There was a lot going on at the intersection of humans, policy, and tech. Health tech was also becoming like kind of a big thing. People were starting to track their data and their health data.
mhm,
Patients were becoming more empowered through it.
mhm,
And just through Twitter, through literal discussions that I had on the internet
mhm.
as a person sitting in
Right.
Fort Worth, Texas, I developed these friendships that actually were with people who were like, "Wow, you actually have something interesting to say. You seem really curious and smart." Like, and the relationship just kind of blossomed. So when I got out there, I just couch surfed, Marley. I straight up was like, I've got one place to stay for like a week or two, and I'm gonna go to stay the next place. And I think it was probably 2 months in that I had my first job offer as like customer
So what
service
are
for.
you okay, so what are you doing for the 2 months? Okay, so I get that you're couch surfing, and was it the full, food and beverage model? Like, was the person you're couch surfing on like, "Hey, listen, yeah, we'll feed you and clothe you," or I mean, what
Oh, I
was
did little gigs all over the place. It was so
Got it.
random, Marley. Like I did, basically any kind of work that I could get to scrape it together. Because like
Okay.
I wasn't getting
Tell
parental.
us. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
tell us because
Oh
there's a
my
lot. I
god.
mean, there's like plenty of 22-year-olds who might
Yeah.
be listening to this, or by the way, plenty of 38-year-olds who are like, F this. I need a change of scenery. I'm going to go do something.
Yeah.
And so tell us how, like, you went from Texas, you got on the plane, you had some Twitter friends, right? So
Mhm.
you, like the old Twitter thing, flew to Silicon Valley. Had you seen like physical people other than like on Twitter? Like, did you actually had you touched these people before and had lunch with them, or no? They were all just Twitter friends.
Yep, they're all just Twitter friends, and I guess here's the thing that I did that was really smart that I didn't realize at the time was really
Okay.
smart. This is the good I think a really good thing for to take away for anyone who's
Okay.
curious to, like, just, like, make a giant jump like this. I volunteered for conferences all over the place. So
Oh,
I
okay.
through this is also through Twitter friends, I, like, randomly got this idea from people who ran, like, TED, like, the big not TEDx,
Mhm.
like, Big TED.
Big Ted.
And they ran the volunteer organization for TED, where you got a per diem and, like, you just, I don't know, checked badges at the door, and the rest of the time, Marley, you pretended you were an attendee because you had access.
Well, imagine that. Fake it till you make it. Okay. Okay. There you go.
100%. So now we're seeing like, and when I moved to Silicon Valley, I'd been doing that, in wherever I could get in. I did this summit series, which you've heard of. Mayo Clinic had an innovation conference where I did it. Like there was all of this constellation of
Okay.
big name conferences where I
Okay.
like got in as a volunteer.
Now wait, are they so that they're all conferences are not necessarily related to TED, right? They're
Mhm.
just big conferences, or
Yeah,
are
TED
they
was
related to TED?
one of them. Yeah, TED was one of them. Then
Okay.
there's other unrelated ones, but still a lot of big names coming out of there.
I got to tell you that's genius because one of the things I talk about in business is like, when people start, we talk about the target audience and all that stuff ad nauseum. And I try to explain it as it's like go where the fish are swimming. So one of the things I always say is like if you're a realtor, and you're moving into a new town or something, like you get involved in the association type things, whatever, that's great. But when you get involved like at the charity level, you're donating your time, people are getting to know, like, and trust you, et cetera. So that's a very unique angle though that I hadn't thought of is this conference piece because you're donating your time or whatever. So obviously people are getting to know, like, and trust you. B though, that's a huge platform. So you're not going swimming in a fishbowl. You are going swimming in the freaking Atlantic Ocean. I mean, if you work it, you have potential to meet a lot of really great people
And just go ahead and sit at the head of the table,
and
guys. Just
sit
do
because you are freaking in charge. And we all know that it's like the customs agent or the bouncer at the nightclub. I mean, that guy might have a sixth grade education, but that Saturday night in Manhattan, he's in charge of who gets in and out. So you better smile and nod. Okay, so let's break it down. How many you fly in, you tweet in, you get on your couch, you meet your new friend. They're not a serial killer. Like that wasn't the day yet of catfish, or was it? Like,
it was probably happening, but I have a good nose for people, so
okay,
I believe that, maybe this is confirmation bias, but I've made it to 40. So,
okay,
like,
yeah,
so
okay,
I've made it this long,
yeah.
and trusting my instincts about whether or not someone's a serial killer has worked out pretty well for me, so.
Okay, got it. So you get to the couch. They are who they say they are. and you say, "Hey, where's the conference in town?" Or what, or did you already know that? Did you say like, "Oh, I've got a list of conferences." Like like walk us through specifically, because I like to give people like a
Or play
hey,
by.
go try this.
So we get there, we land, we have lunch or dinner or whatever, and I ask them what they're up to. I'm asking like how they are moving socially through the world. And I think this is another really cool theme, right? Which is the idea that soft power was my primary instrument.
Now, what the frick is soft power?
So soft power, if you can imagine that hard power is like guns or a
Okay,
podium, right? Where like you like just are like given authority.
got it.
That's hard power, right?
Okay,
Soft power is what we tend to associate with feminized skills. So stuff like
okay,
behind the scenes relationship
yeah.
building, or influence by like asking someone about themselves, or like introducing to people.
Like primal kind of nurturing component, but then the chick's way to do the know, like, and trust, right? Where you okay, got it. So you're those soft connections. It's like the person in the office who is the one that always remembers somebody's birthday and has the card and is always that person, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Perfect. Okay, so you have this big girl conversation about how do you navigate through your ecosystem, whatever your big words are. And what do they tell you? Do they say, "Oh, I go to bars on Saturday night," or are you specifically talking about like where do you go to network, but in a non-networking way?
I mean, I basically say, "Where do you go to network?" There's kind of a let's party. Like,
Yeah,
I'm fun to hang out
yeah.
with. Take me to where you're going tonight. Like, what's on the agenda?
Okay.
And so I think like, and it's just everyone at the time, and I still think this is the case. When you have an actual connection with somebody, like
Yeah,
just a friendship connection,
yeah.
it's a blast to have someone to just roll around town with,
Yes.
introducing to new people. Like people are
Yeah.
so stoked to do
Ye-
that for most
yeah.
people. Like if you have a real friendship, if it's really warm, even if it's just via Twitter
Yes.
for a year,
Yeah. Okay.
there's sort of this there's this genuine desire to show someone to like give someone entree into something that they're interested in.
When you got there to the couch, were they like, "I don't want this girl to like me too much because she's going to be here for 2 months," or was it like I mean, "Hey, can you let me crash for a week while I learn your fishbowl ecosystem?"
Yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't that explicit, if I'm honest. So this
Okay.
is where, like, if I'm looking back, I can kind of maybe attribute a little more intentionality to it, but that would probably be overstating it, Marley. Like, I
Yeah.
think that I just was there. I hung out for a little while. I have a good sense of like when I'm overstaying my welcome,
Got it.
and so I tuned into that, right, my
Okay.
intuition, basically about
Right.
like what felt good to preserve the relationship and make
Okay.
it.
So emotional intelligence kicks in.
Yeah.
You read the room. You're like,
Mhm.
"Time to find my next sofa you love."
Yep.
And how do you do that?
Yeah. So I think that is where just continuing to make friends. Like if you can imagine that there's a social graph
Okay.
that you can tap into nodes. And one of the things I think that I also did very well is identifying what's called connectors, right? This is sort of like
Mhm.
I think you, Marley, you know the ins and outs of this better than almost anyone.
Sure as hell do, good or bad. I should have been a Chinese spy. Okay, got it. Keep
Exactly,
on.
so there's the little hubs with a bunch of
Mhm,
spokes coming off
mhm,
of them, and I think one
mhm,
thing that I had a good eye for is identifying those people and, again, forming an actual connection with them, not one based on kind of like an outcome or some
mhm.
transactional weirdness. I genuinely liked the person. If I didn't, then, they could fuck right off, but I found the nodes like that who also make a practice. It's almost like it's a hobby for them to be bringing new people in and making those
Well,
connections.
and let me stop you there too, because when I don't feel like I'm gonna be, a hermit, I will naturally be that person. I like where you're going, where you're saying it's like a hobby, but I'm
Mhm.
also gonna go one step further and say you can't help yourself, right? It's kind of like, when like the matchmaker, whatever, everybody has that kind of friend that's like always trying to get people together and stuff. And it's sort of, to me, if I'm out with you or I'm whatever in your space and you're front of mind, top of mind for me, I'm going to be like, "Oh, this is my friend so and so. Oh, you know what, Becca, you mentioned you needed somebody with your website. Why don't you talk to that person?" And then, "Oh, you're at lunch. Oh, by the way, that person would be amazing. You needed a photographer. They're great. Why don't you chat with them?" Like it's like a bee going flower to flower. It that's just what a bee does, right? It's like, okay. So, okay, so keep going. I like it.
So this is actually Marley, I was, like, debating whether or not to take this there, but I think I have to. The story.
100%. 100 per today is the day. I mean, how would you even debate? That's the weird
Totally.
part. Okay.
I was just, oh, it's like it gets to a place that's, like, deep in my heart. So
Okay.
you'll understand.
Perfect.
So, effectively, what I realized that I was doing was becoming a node myself. Like, I was becoming a hub, a connector
Mm,
myself. So this was something, eventually I found an apartment, right? This probably went on for a couple months of the couch surfing, found an apartment, had, cobbled together enough gig work, like working production for some random TV show. I can't remember all of the weird gigs that I did,
okay.
until I found my first full-time job. So that's a less interesting story than what happened before that.
Okay.
So what happened was through my efforts that I now can call becoming a connector, I ended up in a circle of men in Silicon Valley
Okay.
who are now what we would refer to as the techno-fascists.
Okay.
That they're causing a lot of the problems in our economy broadly.
Okay.
And what I can say with a great deal of confidence, having been deep in that world,
Yeah.
as one of the women
Yeah.
who made their lives better,
Okay.
right? I dated one of them, I was friends with others, like, I was pretty deep. I started this practice where I got really good at hosting. Because again, with soft power, right? You're here to, like, pick the
Right.
personalities and kinda have this architecture in
It's
mind
like
about, like,
here, kitty, kitty. It's like what a good host or hostess does with an event. You're having people over for dinner. To me, people get it wrong so many times because they think I'm gonna have people over for dinner. I'm gonna have all the same kind of people over, and that's gonna make a good mix. In reality, it's much more interesting. The party's much cooler when
Mhm.
it's the head of this and the gardener for so and so, and this one is a painter who's a like it just the more you mix it up. But can you define for us your definition of techno fascist? Because me not being in the Silicon Valley world, et
Mhm.
cetera, and I'm sure there are other people out there. It's like we might pretend we know what that means, but what does it mean to you?
So I'll give a very tangible example, right?
Okay.
So as I just to like illustrate it, and what I can say is that I observed the seeds of the fascism that we see today in tech being planted then, very
Okay.
very pronounced way. And a great
Okay.
example of it is this idea that privileged people, smart people,
Okay.
attractive people by,
Right.
these men's definition
Okay.
are genetically superior to others. That I heard, Marley, at these dinner tables, like they were like no, they were saying the quiet part out loud over and over and over again.
Okay.
Like
Wait. So pause. But wait, I want to make sure I get it. Okay. So hang on a second. So you're saying they knew that they were privileged and smart and good looking and whatever it is, okay? And
Mhm.
they were and they were actually talking about that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so they were not like humble guy. They were like, "Oh, I'm fabulous and I know it, and then here's my opinion on X subject."
And specifically when we were talking about the flow of power and the flow of finances through this world, because again, these guys are millionaires becoming billionaires.
You're not just picking up on you guys are talking about farmers market and you're picking up somebody's like biases or something. You guys are actually on the
Yeah.
subject of tech and power, and they are basically kind of having a conversation like we are. Like we're saying to like a junior, 20 something year old, go live your dreams. Here's how you can couch surf for free. They're sort of talking about that, but in their world of
List
this is
it.
how we're going to do the world domination thing.
This was the plan, and particularly in the
Okay.
plan was talking about depriving money and finance and support from people who are genetically inferior, people who tend to be quote unquote overpopulating the planet and depleting
Okay.
resources. And specifically, this whole thing about Elon Musk, like creating a colony on the moon and Mars and whatever,
Right.
was effectively so that we could gather up the elite into a
Okay.
little space pod and leave the rest of the world behind to perish. So specifically the direct quote, again, this is an explicit plan, Marley. This is not just
Okay.
like picking up on bias. You had a choice to either live long and prosper, which is what we were doing,
Right.
or be fruitful and multiply. And so the
Okay.
problem was that the live long and prosper people were not having enough babies. And so this is where the techno-fascist part comes in, is that while this terminology was not used, it was understood that one of my roles in this community that I was,
Yeah.
a part of and that I was helping orchestrate the social map of
Yeah.
was that I was not going to work and I was going to breed as much as possible. I was going to have, as one of the genetic elite, I was going to procreate to help populate the genetic elite.
I feel a little bit like I'm in my Tiger King conversation because so many times I had to be like, wait, what? 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 Because I like, I mean, everybody should watch this on YouTube. I always say that you should watch it on our YouTube channel, The Prophet Goddess, anyway, because you can see facial expressions and all these things you can't see with Spotify. Okay, so that's my big shout out to that. But you're a good looking woman, blonde hair, long blonde, blah, 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 blah. The bone structure, the whole deal. But are you saying that that was like literally procreate, like because you are smart and this and all that, but you're the chick as well, but these guys are guys, so they're not at least at the moment popping out the babies, so you're popping them out and or potentially,
Mhm.
and so that was a
That was
good role for you to be in.
Yeah, and this was the plan. I'd also demonstrated that I was capable of thriving in the environments that they created in the time.
Ah, okay, very important. Because so this in my world is the equivalent of when the rich guy brings the stripper, my friends are going to know who I'm talking about, into their world, but at the end of the day, she still can't hide the fact that she's not educated, doesn't have the background, doesn't know how to use a fish knife, right? It's okay. So in your case, this is the opposite because they found you who is good looking and conversational and all those things. And you can swim in that pond no matter how small the pond is. Like you are
Yeah.
vettable,
Right.
right?
And again, this is all of their bias, all of their conditioning about
Totally get it. Yeah,
like,
it's just
all this other bullshit that's, like,
r-
not actually scientifically,
right.
like,
Okay, right. But
obviously no human is genetically superior to another. That's
I get it. But this is fascinating to me because I guess I just maybe like I guess I just never thought that people are actually having this conversation.
explicitly all the time. Like, it was a conversation where, like, even talking about, like, I think, they joke about how, like, the highest minds, like, talk about ideas, and it was the ideas about the future, the
Okay.
ideas about, like, the society that we wanna build, quote,
Right.
unquote, "we." Um,
Yeah.
and what the power machinations need to look like to actually achieve that.
Okay.
Explicit
Now,
conversation at every dinner party.
okay. So now this is fascinating to me
Mhm.
because, well, I mean, for many, many, many reasons, fascinating. Me having companies, right? And then, to have a company and be an entrepreneur, you got to be a little bit out there, blah, 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 blah. But you learn very quickly, at least, well, in my case, very slowly, that you need all different kinds of people to make your organization run, right?
Yeah.
Like I can be the noisy alpha girl, etc. And when I was younger, you do just keep like every barn door is one to for the bull to push down, right? But then you do start to realize you need a balance to build your ecosystem or a company. So my question to you is these people all had companies or have companies, had certainly knew that, right? That it takes all kinds. You can't just have all kinds of screaming alphas all the time. So how did they account for that?
I wouldn't say that they knew that at all, Marley.
Oh,
The structure that was classic was you had this loud male figurehead,
okay.
CEO, whatever, and then the 3 women right underneath him who did all of the work. So you saw this over and over and over again in every org structure, every social graph.
Really?
Saw this like fractally all over the place. For some reason it's always 3 women.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and okay. And so then on the new planet, let's just pretend that where we're going to go. In the perfect org chart, it would be the guy with the 3 chicks and those, like, do we start going like Mormon wives direction where it's like that's the guy and the 3 wives and then those 3 or you know smart chicks are having babies because everybody's smart?
It's exhausting. I mean, just think Handmaid's Tale, right? So
Yeah.
when you've got like the challenge of fertility, and if anyone wants to look up Robin Hanson, by the way, like you should absolutely do it. Look up Mencius Moldbug. These guys have been talking about this exact plan on the internet in public for like 2 decades. So like, I'm
Okay.
not just fact check me. I swear to God, guys.
Yeah,
Like this is
yeah,
not
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I
so
get it.
so,
Okay.
and by the way, Mencius Moldbug, I'm just blanking on his name. We'll have to fix that in post because
All
I
good.
forget his name.
No worries.
He is now like the right hand man of JD Vance. So like they fully infiltrated like our major system of government.
Hmm.
And he is explicitly there's been Vogue, I think it was what was it, Esquire articles written about him where